Welcome at ETOE Designs. It's time for camouflage. That's what most of you wanted and that's what we are doing in this video. But in this video there's also something special which touches my heart. A lot of you have seen that I have a Sea Shepherd flag here in my paint job with the Jolly Roger printed on. And what I like to do is I like to dedicate this video to the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and to all the guys out there who risk their life to save the marine wildlife and all the animals in the ocean. That touches my heart and I'm very grateful for that. And what I like to do is I like to do one of their razzle dazzle paint jobs on their vessels, on the bike frame, on this dirt bike frame. A lot of their ships have these razzle dazzles on these camouflage paint jobs, and I like to transfer one of them on this bike, and I like to name this bike like the Bob Barker, one of their vessels. So I paint also Bob Barker on the down tube in a very special camouflage, like one of these shirts. Maybe you have seen it. There are whales printed on. It's not a normal camouflage like you have seen it in the military. There are ocean animals included in the design, and that's what I like to do also on the bike frame. And if you are interested, stay tuned. It's very simple. You need only some tools, nothing special. But before we start, I have a big wish. For every spray can or for every material you buy, visit their website and donate to seashepherd.org. Donate to the guys who save the wildlife in the oceans. So if you buy a spray can, turn on your brain and save the environment as well. Do a donation. That's my wish and it comes from my heart. And I hope a lot of you follow my instructions. And yeah, when you've done that, follow me. And I like to show you how to do a cool paint job. So let's start. What I have here is Molotov Flame Blue, some spray cans and the typical colors. Blue, of course, because I like to do a blue camouflage. So let's check what we have. That's what's inside. A black, a white. That's called signal blue. That's denim blue, light denim blue. That's also denim blue. And that's a darker, I can't read it. Also a bluish gray. And these are the colors I like to use. But before we can start with the colors, we have to primer the frame. And maybe you have seen that this is a raw aluminum frame. And before you can start with the paint job, you have to remove the old paint job. And if you don't know how to do it, check my videos in the corner. I have two videos for you. One with media blasting and one where I do it by hand, where I strip a frame by hand. If you're in your garage or at home and you can't do media blasting. So check these two videos and then come back when you have a raw frame. That's what we need. That's an aluminum frame, fresh media blasted. I have removed all the old paint, all the oxidation from the aluminum. That's very important. You need a fresh media blasted or fresh sanded frame for what we are doing. If it's not media blasted or if you have some oxidation in the aluminum, the primer won't stick. So make sure you have a fresh media blasted or sanded frame. That's what we need. And then we can start with the paint job. Let's do it. The first step is very simple. Just grab a roll of masking tape and mask all the bearing seats on the head tube, also on the bottom bracket. And when you've done that, it's time to change to your garden, your garage, or wherever you like to paint to apply the primer. But make sure that tape fits well, so you have no problems when you reassemble the frame and when you mount the bearings. That's the first step for a high quality paint job. I'm masking the dropouts as well because it's easier to mount the axles and the plates for the axles when these areas are mounted. But you have to check this situation on your frame if it's needed or not. And yeah, when it's easier to mount the axles when these dropouts are masked, do it. And if not, you can paint the dropouts as well. The next step is very important. You have to clean and you have to degrease the frame to remove any debris from your fingerprints. And what I'm using is a degreaser in such a spray bottle. No problem if you don't have the bottle. You can use just a degreaser and a cloth. I will link you some underneath the video in the video description. And make sure you are careful and you reach every spot of the frame. Here, if you are not careful, you have no adhesion of the primer and the paint job's already ruined before you start spraying anything. Yeah, and when you've done that, it's time for the first spray can, and that's the primer. And as mentioned before, what we are using is a 2-component epoxy primer. I will link you also the primer underneath the video in the description. That's a must-have if you spray on an aluminum or a steel frame. If you have a carbon frame, you can use also the epoxy or another primer, but if you paint on aluminum or steel, that's the must-have. And that's a 2-component as mentioned before, so you have a hardener underneath the primer in the spray can and a little valve underneath the can. And what you have to do is, you need this little red cap and you have to place it onto the valve to mix the hardener and the primer, and now push it as hard as you can for 15 to 20 seconds and then shake the can and we are ready to go. Let's do it. Remove the red cap and then shake the can. And we are ready to go. Don't forget your personal safety gear, a spray mask. I will link you also the spray mask underneath the video in the description. And then follow me and I'll show you how to apply the primer. Yeah, and that's it. And here we are back from the paint booth. The primer had to cure 2 hours, and for all of you who couldn't count, that's the number with the rabbit ears, 1, 2, and what we have to do now is wet sanding. And for wet sanding, we need wet sander, the wet sanding bucket, and of course 800 grit. So let's smooth the surface and let's open the primer for the next layer, a color layer. Yeah, what does opening the primer to color means and why do I have to do the wet sanding? I like to explain you the issue, and it's very simple. The chemical reaction of the primer stopped. Imagine there are millions of little primer atoms into the air which like to connect to the atoms of the aluminum and also to themselves in a chemical reaction like this in a very tight bond, and that is the result. And now imagine from somewhere else comes a color atom and it likes to connect to the primer atom as well, but it can't because there's no finger left where it can do a chemical reaction and a bond to the primer atom, and that's exactly our problem. And how can we solve the problem? In a physical way. And what I'm doing with the sanding is I do millions of little micro scratches into the surface of the primer, into these little particles, and the result are particles with a surface like this. Very rough. You can't feel it, of course, because it's in a microscopic way. And now imagine from somewhere else comes again the color atom, and it can link to the primer atom in a physical way, linked and locked. And now we have a tight bond in between the color and the primer, and that's exactly what we want. And now imagine you are a lazy guy and you don't do the wet sanding. That's the result, a closed primer surface. The color atom comes, it slicks over the primer, it won't stick, and you have a lazy paint job with a bad quality, and that's exactly what I like to avoid with the wet sanding. And when I'm done, I can change to the paint booth and I can link millions of color atoms with the primer atoms. See you there. The next step is simple as hell. Just shake the can and spray. I start every time with the lightest color in this case denim blue light. I have to shake the can, I have to put on my personal safety gear, and then it's time to start. The blue color has to cure for 20 minutes. Again, that's the number with the 2 bunny ears, 1 and 2. And in the meantime, we can create the stencils we need for the design. And if you like to do a camouflage, that's very simple. What you need are these typical cow spots like these. I created them already with a sign maker. That's very fast, but it's absolutely no problem if you don't have a sign maker. What you need is a roll of vinyl foil like this. Color doesn't matter because it's a stencil and we will remove it already. And if you want to know what foil it is, check the link underneath the video in the description. I'll link to the material I used. And what you also need is a knife like this. And that's just all. Just grab a little piece of this vinyl foil, and what you have to do now is you have to cut these little clouds or stains or whatever you like to call them into the vinyl foil. Just go creative like you want it. And when you cut the cloud, just pick it, stick it onto the frame, and that's all. You need some more clouds, of course. That takes some time, but the tools are simple. Just a knife and vinyl foil. I created some more difficult designs because I like to do the Sea Shepherd design like on my shirt. So what I had to do is I had to create some whales with the graphic software. These are my whales. And I created also the Jolly Roger in a more simple design, so I'm able to cut it in a stencil. And yeah, these are the stickers and stencils I need for my design. And yeah, if you have a sign maker, you are a lucky guy. And if you want to know how to create bike stencils or bike decals with a sign maker, just check the video in the corner. I have a video how to create bike decals, and then come back and you are able to create these, or just use the knife and create these cow spots. That's also fine. So let's pick up the frame and let's do the design. Don't stick on too much stickers in the first round, that should be the result. A loose design, all the stickers should be placed even on all the tubes. Yeah, that's my result. Now let's change again to the paint booth and let's paint this frame again. And we do exactly the same like last time. Just check the can and spray. Don't forget your spray mask. This time I'm using denim blue. It's a bit darker than the light denim blue I used before, and that will be my second color layer. Let's go. Back from the paint booth with a denim blue frame, and now it's time to stick on the next set of stencils. I prepared them in the meantime while the denim blue had to cure. Don't remove the old set of stencils. We have to save the light denim blue underneath, so don't remove them. Just stick the next set on top. Do it again and again, sticking on stencils, applying color, sticking on stencils until you like the result. That's what I have to do now, and then I can apply the next layer of color. Yeah, as you can see, all my sticker sheets are empty, and what we need is a 50% ratio. That means 50% of the frame should be blue and 50% should be covered with these stickers. That is what I did. Now it's time to change again to the paint booth and to apply another layer of color. The next thing to do is real fun. What I have to do is I have to remove all the stencils I sticked on the frame, hundreds of them. That takes a while, but it's like Christmas, unpacking a Christmas present, and the only tool I need is a knife. Let's go. Yeah, that is what it is now, but my satisfaction level is not at 100%. But when I do a paint job, I need 100% satisfaction, so I have to push a bit more harder and I have to put more work into this frame. But before I start, I like to tell you the issue with the frame. So look a bit closer, and what you can see is that the appearance of the frame is that the darkest color looks like the base color, and all these cow spots and whales look like they are stickers floating on the base color, and that's exactly what I like to avoid. I like a dense camouflage, a dense razzle dazzle, and to produce that I have to add another color and more of these cow spots and whales, and what I like to use is a bluish gray. It's called Seal. Yeah, that fits the ocean theme, seals on the frame. And it's very simple, but you need a bit more time and a bit more effort. What I'm doing is I'm cutting more of these cow spots, but in this time in a positive way, not in the negative way. So that's my stencil. I have to stick it onto the frame. But come a bit closer and I show you the details direct on the frame. And what I'm doing is I'm placing the stencil in an area where there's a lot of this dark base color to break the surface of the base color and to add more contrast and more of the camouflage look. I have to add also some masking tape so I can avoid any overspray. And now I can spray this cow spot in gray. Yeah, we have to wait a minute or two, and then we can remove the stencil, and we have to do this procedure on a lot of these spots on the frame. That takes maybe an hour or two, and yeah, when I've done that, my satisfaction level should be at 100%. Yeah, I added some of these cow flakes, and now starts the hardest part of the paint job. We have to make this finish a pro finish. Actually, it's really rough, and there are gaps in between all these colors. You can hear it and you can feel it as well. And to fill these gaps, we have to add clear coat to the frame. And what I'm using is a 2-component hard solid clear coat like this. That's also a 2-component with a hardener and the clear coat on top. And when you use this stuff, please do it outside or in a well-ventilated room. I will change to the paint booth and I will show you how I apply the clear coat. That's the next step. Then it's time for wet sandra. Again, wet sanding, applying logo typing and some more decals. And the finish, in this case, a matte finish. So stay tuned if you want to know how to produce a high quality paint job. Nothing like the typical DIY. It should look like it comes from factory, very cool. So if you want to know how to do it, stay tuned and follow me to the paint booth. And we have to activate the clear coat like the primer to mix the hardener and the clear coat. And to do it, use again this little red cap, place it onto the valve on the bottom of the can, push the red cap as hard as you can for 10 seconds, shake the can and you're ready to go. And what I will do is I will apply 2 layers of the clear coat. A first thin layer, I wait 10 minutes, a delay of 10 minutes, and then I will apply another thick layer of clear coat on top. And when I've done that, it's time for wet sandra and a wet sanding party. So let's start. That was the first layer. Just drink a good coffee, then come back and apply another layer of this clear coat. Back from the paint booth, I let the clear coat set for 2 hours. That is the result. But my satisfaction level went down a little bit because there's still an issue with my design. And maybe you think, is he crazy or what? It looks perfect. No, it doesn't. In my opinion, there are still these dark spots. The dark gray was a shot in the oven, as we say in Germany. After the clear coat, it's no longer visible. It's mainly the same tone like the dark blue. Here's such a spot, maybe you can see it, and that annoys me a lot and I have to solve this. My first idea was a signal blue like this. I ordered the signal blue with all the other colors, but as I arrived at my shop, I was no longer sure if I like to use it because they are all grayish tones and that's a very bright color, and maybe I ruined the design using a bright color on all these grayish tones. So my second idea was a metallic graphite like this. That color matches exactly the one on my shirt. You can see it here, that's also gray. and it's mainly the same, but I'm not 100% happy with the gray solution. So my third idea was a metallic Caribbean like that, and at the moment that's my favorite, but I'm not really sure if I will add another color or not. But I have a lot of time to think about it because the next step is sanding, as I mentioned before. So we need wet sander, the wet sanding bucket, and of course some wet sanding paper, 800 grit in this case. And yeah, put it in a bucket. And what we have to do is we have to flatten the clear coat and we have to flatten the surface. As mentioned before, there are gaps in between every color. You can still feel it also with clear coat on. And we have to remove all these gaps until we have a flat surface. So that's the next step. It takes maybe an hour or an hour and a half. And yeah, that's the time I need to think about the design and if I like to add another color or not. Yeah, that's gone very fast, but in the meantime I did a lot of work and now my satisfaction level is at 100%. Woohoo! That's the camouflage I like, check it out. And guess what? I decided to use the Caribbean blue to add some more whales, some more Jolly Rogers, also some more cow spots, and that's exactly what makes me happy. But there's one thing left, you've seen it, and that's the logo typing. I created some stencils, and to do it you need a sign maker, as you have seen. No problem if you don't have a sign maker. You can visit the copy shop, they can print it for you. That's an absolutely normal vinyl foil, and what we have to do is we have to stick the vinyl onto the frame. We have to spray with a white spray can, but before we can spray we have to do some masking with masking tape or masking paper, and that's it. And when we've done the logo typing, we have to do the finish, and in this case I will do a matte finish because matte's cool as hell and I like it very much. So let's start and let's add the logo typing. I wait 1 or 2 minutes and then I can peel off the decal. So let's check what we got. Ooh, looks pretty good. Woo! Yeah! Yeah, that's it! All decals are on. Now let's change to the paint booth and let's apply the matte clear coat. Yeah, it's exactly the same like the gloss clear coat. There's a hardener on the can and the clear coat, but in this case it's a 2-component matte clear coat, so it dries matte, not gloss. Let's do it again. Let's pick the red cap, let's push it into the valve, let's mix the can and let's have some fun. Woo! Don't forget to shake the can again. And don't forget to degrease and to clean the frame when you spray matte clear coat. You have grease from your fingerprints that you have to remove, and if there's any dust on the frame, you can't polish it because it's matte. So make sure you have a 100% clean frame, and then let's start spraying. I have to wait 5 to 10 minutes and then I can apply another layer of the clear coat. Check this, that's so freaking cool. That's the result after the matte clear coat and I love it. But before we end the video, don't forget to visit seashepherd.org and do a donation to support all the Sea Shepherd guys. And to all the ones who want to know which spray cans I used, these are all the spray cans I used in this video. SprayMax 2-component epoxy primer, SprayMax 2-component gloss clear coat, SprayMax 2-component matte clear coat, the Molotov Flame Blue series, Denim Blue Light, Denim Blue, Dark Denim Blue, a white spray can. I used also the Montana Metallic Caribbean and a Montana Black, which is called Seal, but this one's not really necessary. So these are all the spray cans you need if you want to do that. And don't forget to check also my other videos if you're into custom painting and DIY spray can videos, because there's a lot of information if you want to spray with spray cans. So thanks for watching and see you in one of my next videos. Goodbye.